started playing the bassoon when I was 12. I did honor bands, youth symphony. I even won a concerto competition my senior year. And when I learned there was a degree that involved practicing 4 hours a day, I said, sign me up. That one is for me. That took me to the University of Iowa and then Florida State University, where I studied music performance and arts administration. And that combination, being inside music and really perfecting my craft, and then thinking about how people experience it and how to bring people into classical music when we're always told that the arts are dying, yet there's still a need that's demonstrated all the time. But that's where the story really begins. At Florida State, I discovered Classical Revolution at a brewery called Ology. On Monday nights at 8 o'clock, the tap room would fill with music students from the College of Music listening to other College of Music students, and sometimes professors play classical music over beer. Classical Revolution made Mondays exciting. It was casual, and people talked while performers played, often with casual banter on either side of the stage. It felt like musicians blowing off steam and sharing something they loved with people who really understood what went into it. My favorite night was a trombone quintet. They played something prepared, and then they pulled out a book and just sight-read live. They laughed through their mistakes, they leaned into the chaos, and had an incredible time doing it. That night showed me what classical music could feel like. My least favorite night was when a violin professor played Paganini. Paganini is the big, scary, highly technical violin composer that all violinists are slightly terrified of. His students, who weren't normal Classical Revolution attendees, came and they shushed the room. Any noise you make, you gotta glare. And suddenly it felt like a recital hall again, and it totally killed the vibe. That is what you do not want at a Classical Revolution. So when I started thinking about bringing Classical Revolution to Wichita, I knew the goal wasn't virtuosity or perfection. It was energy and casual connection, a space where classical music feels human and not intimidating. I mentioned this idea to someone who happened to own our coffee house in Riverside, and he liked it. So on Thursday, August 25th, 2022, we held the very first Classical Revolution in Wichita. It was small, very small, but it existed, and that mattered more than the size of the audience. And after a few slow events, we needed a change. I heard about a goat-themed event at Tor Brewing, and I thought, if they'll host goats, they will host classical music. So 30 minutes after bringing this idea up, we went over to Tor Brewing, and Aaron, the owner, was excited to give it a try. But Classical Revolution doesn't really tell people what to expect, so we branded this program as Bach and Brews, setting expectations, so people would know that they were getting classical music, beer, and presumably a relaxed atmosphere, because does that say formal to you? It set clear expectations and helped the right audience find us. Every event follows the same model. We have 3 sets, about 30 minutes each. Musicians introduce themselves, talk to the audience, and invite interaction. That is a core part of what we do. They pick their own rep, anything from Baroque to contemporary classical, including new compositions by local composers at Wichita State and beyond. And this is a paid gig for our musicians since day one in the coffee shop. We encourage musicians to engage with the audience, to humanize the performers and build connection across the music stand, because we don't really use a stage. When people feel included, they return. And some musicians take it further, inviting participation and turning a set into a shared experience. Our first Bach and Brews was in March of 2023, and we have held one every month since then with a full slate of musicians. And we finally found the right vibe, the right musicians, audience, and venue all aligned, and the idea caught on. We have an average attendance of 45 at our Bach and Brews events every month. After a year of Bach and Brews, it was clear this wasn't a one-off series. Musicians kept coming back, and audiences did too. So we became a nonprofit in 2024, and this is the founding board. We wanted to protect what was working and make sure it could last. And then in 2025, we expanded to Hutchinson with Beethoven and beer at Sandhills Brewing. The same model, the same values, but a new community, a community that was hungry for classical music after the symphony closed. And we love an alliteration, so hence Beethoven and beer. Since we started in July 2025, we've had an average attendance of 105 people at Beethoven and Beer every month. Great job, Hutchinson. Audiences come and continue to come, and conversations start around classical music and anything else you can imagine. And Beethoven and Beer happens every fourth Tuesday, and it feels like it belongs here. We've also tried other types of events beyond breweries, and we plan to do more in the future. This is Pachelbel in the Park on Make Music Day. We might be workshopping that name in the future. We had some families wander by, just enjoying the park on a picnic, and they joined us, and that was the ideal, bringing people in. One example to pull at the heartstrings. One night, Lillian surprised her mom with a duet with her brother Caleb on her mom's birthday. They hadn't played together since high school. That's their mom in the audience with the tissue. I am proud of the stage we have created for local musicians to present their art without the typical pressures of performance that come with classical music. Here are just some of the musicians we featured just last year alone. We're not lowering the bar for classical music, we're widening the door, and once people walk through, they stay. Classical Revolution ICT is redefining the classical music experience by bringing music into places people already gather: breweries, coffee shops, parks. What started as a way for musicians and audiences to connect has become something more: a dependable monthly community where people show up, share space, and connect.